Collector Crypt has the best on-chain gacha machines that have generated over $320 million in volume. And the amazing art behind the experience? That's created by me. I'm Scotty.D.Russell. I'm an illustrator, designer, and shiny cardboard enthusiast. For 2 years, I've been creating art for Collector Crypt, which started with their Card Club Pass, which bakes in rewards and incentives for their community members. This has evolved into doing all the art for their flagship gacha machine products, which you can play now on their website. In a world filled with so much rushed content and AI slop, Collector Crypt goes above and beyond to invest in real artists who are also just as equally obsessed in this world of collectibles. They understand that custom illustrated and designed assets can elevate the premium quality of their branded products. I'd love to take you behind the scenes and break down the art for their latest one-piece gacha machine that generated over $2 million in revenue within the first 48 hours of release. So let's break this down. The first step is always communication and doing a design brief. Early in the process, I briefed the team on things like keywords, adjectives, descriptors, IP usage, and even deadlines. This design brief is truly a fun collaborative process, and it sets the tone for the rest of the design. The next step, we move into leveraging a customized design template. In the beginning, I was given a static 3D rendered gacha machine image. I've since constantly edited and evolved it into a customized Photoshop template. I created individual paths around every machine element for maximum flexibility when designing new skins. Once the template is set, I then export it to my iPad and I load it up for the sketching and inking process within Procreate. Now we move on to the core illustrations. The early drawing phase is about locking down the core assets that'll live within the high visibility areas within the machine. Each graphic relates to the theme, the lore, the characters, all while avoiding copying the IP directly. When you've watched as much One Piece anime as I have, it's a lot of fun to whip up graphics that true fans will notice, like a big slab of meat, a straw hat flag, 3 swords, etc., while making sure to bake in the Collector Crypt branding to tie it all together. Next, we move on to the filler elements. So once we've mapped out the core illustrations and the high visibility area, we start filling in the gaps with things like stars and clouds to really start tying it all together. I turn these filler elements into an asset library. That way I can patch up any final gaps and holes when I polish up the design. Now we move on to the look and feel stage. Once the core illustrations and filler elements are mapped to the machine, I start building the look and feel and play with golden hues and textures to really give it that treasure map, treasure chest vibe. By the end of it, I stumbled across this worn parchment paper, brushed metal, and wood grain look that made for a killer combo. In order to blend all the illustrated elements into the machine without being too distracting, I created a metallic foil effect that had areas of light and shadow. I placed one variation of this foil effect over the core assets and then another version over the filler elements, and this created more separation and depth between the two on the machine. Next step, type treatment. As a designer by trade, I love to nerd out over fonts. For this scenario, I went with a more traditional serif typeface, but nothing too wide, so I had room to illustrate custom elements that uniquely framed the title text and console text. Moving on to custom packaging. The branded packs within the glass section of each gacha machine has got to be one of my favorite parts of the process. This is when all the work comes to life as I envision myself ripping one of these packs. When the gacha art and theme is dialed in, it's time to create a custom complementary background for it. In this case, I went with the Pirate Island treasure scene. Other times, I will custom illustrate the entire background, like what I did with the Grail gacha machine. For the One Piece gacha machine, it took a lot of time prompting and generating a solid image direction, followed by tedious manipulation and editing within Photoshop to match the final gacha art. After the design, the assets, and the mockups are all polished up and packaged up, I then hand it over to the 3D rendering artist who then brings it to life. This is where we layer on the final effects such as subtle scene animation and then this smoke effect to help separate the gacha machine from the background. Every time I design and finish gacha machine artwork, I always keep in mind how this could be repurposed for another campaign. For example, I was able to customize and repurpose the One Piece art even more for Collector Crypt's experimental service where they allowed their community to access booster boxes or booster cases of the ultra hyped new set release EBO3. How cool is that? And that's a wrap on my gacha art process breakdown. It truly is surreal getting to create dream projects for a dream client involving my favorite all-time IPs like Pokemon, One Piece, etc. I'm incredibly grateful for the work I get to do for my Collector Crypt fam and the appreciation they have of investing in artists who connect with the vision. Now go have some fun and rip some packs with the gacha link below.